You might notice that this is not Sif. Well, that's not surprising. Before we actually fight him, I'm going to need to prepare. Since I am planning to do something very silly, I'm going to go ahead and come down here to Ash Lake. The only real reason for doing this is that there are a bunch of dragon scales down here, and if I want to boost the Moonlight Greatsword, pretty much going to need a lot of dragon scales. There are a few that you could have gathered by now, one from killing the Hydra, there's one in Blighttown, there may be others, but the majority of them are going to be down here in Ash Lake. You can get quite a few. First thing though, gotta deal with the Hydra. The Hydra down in Ash Lake is a little bit stronger than the one in Darkroot Basin. It has more maneuvering room, and it does more damage. I'm not sure if its heads are harder to cut off, but it does seem to have more health. Trying to see whether or how far away I can actually get some damage in on this thing. With the fog ring, it's not really noticing me. Normally it would actually already be moving towards me. Now I clearly hit it and that got its attention, but I don't think I did very much damage to it now. Not sure if it can be poisoned, but it's worth a try. Doesn't appear that it can. Also, you can see how large the Hydra is now that we can actually see it in some light. Don't know how it fit into the Darkroot Basin like that. But this doesn't seem to be working too well. And it's kind of noticed me, finally. So perhaps it's about time to get out of here. This one has stronger water blasts. They're harder to block and certainly more dangerous, but these trees will pretty much prevent it from reaching me. And from there, I can shoot it a bit. I can only manage to get one or two heads off here. Even though the heads are swaying around a lot, sometimes it'll hit them, even though it doesn't look like it should be. The damage, however, at this range isn't great. Still, if I had a lot more feather arrows, this could probably work. For whatever reason, I think it's the rise in elevation and the obstacles. It seems to block pretty much all of the shots. I wasn't hit at all with this. Again, not sure why, except that it must have to pass through that tiny little hole in order to even get remotely close. And it just doesn't. I'm not complaining, though. Now, this Hydra can actually follow you through Ash Lake. It'll be able to even jump across from one side of the water to the other. It's very funny to see. In previous versions, it could actually kill itself, jumping across for some reason. You could actually just run away from it, and sometimes you would actually see it just die on its own. That seems to have been fixed fairly recently, in the Prepare to Die edition at least. It doesn't seem to do that. But at this point, we're more than strong enough to take care of it on our own. Yeah, we're running out of arrows here. Let's see if we can't finish it off the normal way. That was kind of a lucky break. I would have been hit by a wall of water, but one of the heads was dead. Now, surprisingly enough, I didn't quite finish it off with the Soul Spears. Then I ended up trying to two-hand the Crystallization Catalyst, which wasn't going to do me much good there. This one hits a lot harder, too. But again, you block it and it's not so bad. Just need to orient with where its heads are. There we go. And again, there's a death by not losing all its heads. If it just loses all of its health, then it dies. So all we've got to do now is go pick up the dragon scales. There's 2 from the Hydra, 1 back here. 1 further ahead, you can actually see the glow here on this far end of this sandbank. Right there. It looks like it's almost all the way out in the water where you would die, but it's actually just floating right on the edge. And I think that's the last one down here, other than the one in the log that I didn't show. There's one inside that log there. I think I picked it up before I recorded. So that makes about 4 of them, which is pretty good. In addition to the 2 that you already have, that should be enough to get it all the way to +4. If you're using the Drake Sword and you're daring, I suppose you could come down here and give it a try. If you're trying to keep that thing relevant throughout the game. Can't quite get it to +5, but you could probably get it to +3 or so, which wouldn't be terrible, but for the effort that you would have to put in here, I think you would probably do something else. There's a miracle down here. It's largely pointless unless you're doing a faith build. Which I'm certainly not. However, it's here. It's Great Magic Barrier, which is... it's actually okay. It's decent against certain bosses. And it's okay in PvP, but you probably aren't going to want to waste your time casting it. Although maybe it would be useful against people who are trying some of the new sorcerer builds in PvP that are available on the PC version. I don't know a whole lot about those. All the way back in the back, there's the Dragon Covenant. The Dragon Covenant is another way to get dragon scales. It also used to be, on the console versions, worth running down here at very low levels to pick up the Dragon Headstone that you get for joining the Covenant, which you can actually use to get infinite souls on the console version, but that was fixed on the PC version, and even if it weren't, there's much better ways to cheat on the PC version, so why would you even bother? You can also cut the dragon's tail off. Now we've got just enough dragon scales, I think, to get it to about +4. We'll need some more souls, though. Dragon and boss weapons can be very expensive to upgrade in terms of souls. Fortunately, we have plenty. Probably trade for some more scales off screen. You can also use the Dragon Covenant to actually fight for scales. It's kind of like a dueling covenant, where the prize is a dragon scale. Okay, we've done what we need to do. Now for Sif. We're going to fight him a rather unorthodox way. We'll be using our Moonlight Greatsword, of course. And we'll also be doing a little bit of fun here. We've arrayed ourselves in physical protection, but we're about as slow as we can be. Or are we? Let's make ourselves even slower with Iron Flesh. Now, Iron Flesh used to be a pretty broken ability. Not so much anymore. It doesn't grant as much protection or poise as it used to. But for fun, we're going to fight Sif with our laser sword. He can hit us, but he can't stagger us with hovels and this stuff. We just don't stay staggered long enough. Now the two-handed version has an explosion. You see that it actually tagged Sif, even though the wave of energy missed him. Pretty much all we have to do, shoot him. There's the one-handed version. And he's gone. That's an interesting way of doing it, I'm sure, but it works, sort of. However, You notice we got a weapon at risk message. That's because using the Moonlight Greatsword's R2 abilities damages its durability. And in fact, had I used it one more time, it would have broken. Or maybe 2 more times, it might have gone down to 10. Either way, very cutting it close there, but that's one way to do Sif at least.